to go shopping, and we are going to start by diving into the clearance shelves. I find so many amazing pieces in the clearance aisle, and today we are going to take those and turn them into couture home decor. One of my favorite places to find clearance items is Home Goods. The only thing is that you do have to rummage through things. So I was elbow deep in a couple aisles looking for some items, and I found something on the very bottom shelf. It looked so promising to begin with, and then I pulled it out, and that handle was hanging on for dear life. One of the screws was missing, so this handle was just kind of flopping around. It clearly needed to be discounted. Besides the handle being on its last leg, I really loved the size and the shape of this wood tray. It was very heavy, very sturdy, and this tray was on clearance for only $5. We are going to transform this tray into something that you would never imagine. But the first thing we need to do is remove that sad little handle. So I got my Athena drill and unscrewed the screw, and this handle just fell right off. Now I have these two holes where the screws were holding the handle to the tray. These are actually very convenient for us because we are going to use those holes as pilot holes. I'm going to get two screws and I'm going to screw them into those holes that were there originally. I grabbed the first screw and screwed that into the first hole and the second screw into the second hole. Now our tray looks like it has some antenna, but trust me, it will all make sense in just a bit. So now that the screws are on the tray, we need to change the color. Now we're going to need a neutral backdrop, so I got some white gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint. I took my tray outside and I sprayed it in this paint. I made sure that the perimeter of the tray was sufficiently covered in the spray paint. I also painted the top and the center. I'm not too concerned about the center because we're going to be covering it up with something else in just a bit. But once it was sufficiently coated in the paint, I let it dry for an hour. Then I came back, I flipped my tray over, and I sprayed the underside. Again, I made sure that this piece was sufficiently covered in the spray paint, and then let it dry for another hour. So do you want to know what we're turning our tray into? We are going to be making a corkboard sign. I have a bridal shower coming up in a few weeks, and I'm going to start prepping for that party now. So I'm going to make a sign out of this tray. Now what we need is some cork. So while I was at Hobby Lobby, I found this round roll of cork. This is actually a decent sized roll of cork, and it was only $3.79. Now what we want to do is cut an oval out of this cork and put it inside of our tray. So what I did was I measured out the size I needed with a ruler and a pencil, then I cut out a rectangle. Now I'm going to take this cork and I'm going to put it inside of the oval area on my tray. I traced out the curvature of the oval, so now I can cut it out and have a piece of cork that fits exactly inside of this tray. To attach the cork to the tray, we are going to be using some hot glue. So I added a whole bunch of hot glue to the bottom of the tray. Once I had enough hot glue, I grabbed my cork oval and I placed it over the top of the hot glue and pressed it firmly together. And just like that, we have now turned our tray into a corkboard sign. Now, of course, we can't just leave it like this. We've got to fancy it up. Now, do you remember the little screw antenna that we had at the top? Well, this is going to help us hold a floral arrangement at the top. First up, we're going to grab a piece of floral foam. You guys know I love reusing my floral foam. There's nothing wrong with floral foam that has a couple of holes in it. I cut out the size so it would fit on top of my sign. Then I got some floral moss and I put that over the top. I really like covering up my floral foam with floral moss. You don't want to see any mechanics that are holding everything together, so covering up the floral foam is essential. I tacked the moss to the floral foam using floral pins. We are reaching the end of summer and the beginning of fall, so I want my floral color scheme to reflect that. So I chose some vibrant colors in pinks and oranges and yellows, these gorgeous autumn sunset colors. These flowers are definitely pulling me out of my comfort zone. You guys know I like neutral, so we are going bright today. I even wore a shirt that would match with the florals that we're using. So now that I have all these pretty flowers, we're going to poke them into the floral foam. If the skinny stems were too long, I simply folded them in half and poked them into the floral foam. I placed my flowers strategically in the foam. I made sure there wasn't a large clump of one color in any specific area. I mixed the flowers around so they looked like a beautiful sunset bouquet. When I was about 2/3 of the way done creating this floral arrangement, I took it and I put it on top of the screws that are on the sign. I just pressed it in there and those screws held that floral foam in place beautifully. Now that it's on top of my sign, I can finish out my floral arrangement. I continue to add a few more flowers and the gold leaves. I wanted this arrangement to look bountiful and lush. It's looking so good. The additional flowers at the top of the corkboard sign completely elevate this decorative piece. It brings in an additional punch of color. I want to add one more colorful accent in the form of a bow. I found this beautiful blue ribbon at Hobby Lobby, of course in the clearance section, and this thick spool of ribbon was only 99 cents, which is a great deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this beautiful satin ribbon and I'm going to lay it flat. Then I folded the ribbon back and forth on itself until I had 6 loops. Then I took some floral wire, cut a segment, and wrapped it around the center of the ribbon, and then twisted the wire to secure everything together. Then I took my bow and placed it in the floral foam between the flowers. I got a floral pin and placed that in the center of the bow to secure the bow to the arrangement. How absolutely beautiful is our corkboard sign. I love the way that this looks. The flowers are so vibrant and colorful. They are definitely perfect for this time of year. And the ribbon brings in a luxurious feel and another dash of color. So not only is this sign pretty, it's functional. You can see that I just poked a card right in the center with a tack. Now, you guys, you can add so many things to corkboards like this. For a party, you could add some photos, you could add the menu card, you could put some advice on a corkboard like this. There's so many ways that you could use it. It's such a versatile piece. Would you have guessed that this started out as a damaged wood tray in the clearance section? It has come a very long way, and I'm glad I decided to upgrade this tray into a beautiful couture sign. I was doing some grocery shopping at Target the other day and I took a little detour. I can't help myself. I always end up in the home decor section. And I'm so glad I ended up there today because there were so many items that were on clearance. A bunch of wooden trays, cutting boards, and kitchen linens were all on clearance. But the piece that I got most excited about was this huge cutting board. The size of the cutting board was fabulous and the clearance price was right. It was only $14.99. I want to create a personalized gift for our engaged couple, and this giant cutting board is the perfect blank slate to work with. Now, what's more personalized than carving each other's initials into a tree? Well, we're not going to do a tree this time, but we are going to carve initials into this cutting board. Now, what I have to help me do this is a Creality Falcon 2. This laser arrived to my house packaged beautifully, and I was able to assemble it very easy. I simply just created a personalized design and dragged and dropped that over into Lightburn, and from there I can just decide how I want my laser to engrave on my cutting board. This laser has an adjustable light beam, which means that you can adjust the focus of the laser. This feature gives you more control over the cutting and engraving process, which allows for precise and accurate results, which is exactly what you want when you're creating a personalized logo. Now, along with that, it also has a very powerful 40-watt laser, making it one of the most powerful options available. This high power output allows for faster cutting and engraving speeds, as well as the ability to work on several different materials. Now, I'm using wood, and this is a really thick cutting board. And this laser had no problem at all in creating this engraved design on this thick piece of wood. And it was really fast because it has a 2,500 millimeter per minute speed. It makes it an ultra fast laser engraving machine. The integrated air assist on this Creality Falcon 2 is really great, which helps remove smoke, fumes, and debris created during the engraving process. This not only keeps the work area clean, but it also improves the quality of cuts and engraving by preventing debris from interfering with the laser beam. And just like that, we were able to create a personalized monogram on this cutting board. It has their wedding date, their names, their initial, and this pretty little circle with the flowers in it is similar to what they have on their wedding announcement. This is so much better than carving your initials into a tree. You can keep this cutting board forever. Now, can you believe that we got this for $14.99 in the clearance section at Target? We were able to turn this into a personalized gift that looks expensive. It looks like it was professionally created, and it's definitely a one-of-a-kind keepsake. I will leave a link to the Creality Falcon 2 in my description box so you can head on over to their website and see everything that they have. Hobby Lobby always tends to have fabulous clearance items. So I was, again, just rummaging through the aisles and I found this candle. Now, I am a sucker for candles. I have more than my fair share, and I guess I just needed some more. But at the price of $7.49, makes it okay for me to buy it. Now, it's hard to see right now, but the lid has some divots in it and some indentations. It makes the lid look cheap. So we are going to drastically improve the look of this lid. I don't love the color of this lid either. The black is just too dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray paint it. Just like our sign, we need a base coat because we are going to embellish the top. And I'm going to spray in some gold Rust-Oleum spray paint. I painted the perimeter of the lid and then the entire surface of the top of the lid. Once everything was coated in the spray paint, I let it dry for 1 hour. Now, the base coat is essentially just changing the color of the rim because we are going to be covering up the top. I found this beautiful scrapbook paper at Michael's. I love the neutral color tone of this paper, and it's perfect for this time of year. So what I'm going to do is take my lid and place it over the scrapbook paper. I got a pencil and traced out a circle that would be the correct size. I grabbed my scissors and I cut out the circle. The circle is the perfect size and it fits right over the top of my lid. I'm going to adhere the scrapbook paper to the lid with some Mod Podge. So I grabbed some Mod Podge and a sponge brush. I added a decent amount to the surface of the lid. I made sure that the entire top was covered in the Mod Podge. Then I took my paper and placed it over the top of the Mod Podge. I pressed it to the lid. Then I got out a scraper tool and ran it along the surface of the paper. The scraper tool will help remove any air bubbles that may have been trapped underneath the paper. Once the paper was in place, I let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I came back and I added a top layer of Mod Podge to the surface of the paper. Again, you want to make sure that you add a sufficient amount so that the entire surface of the paper is covered. Once the Mod Podge had been painted over the top of the paper, I let it dry for 2 hours. While the paper is drying, we are going to create a topper to go over the scrapbook paper. And because it is the end of summer, beginning of fall, we're going to stick to an autumn theme. Now, I have a wood leaf that is from the Dollar Tree. I also have 2 wood rounds and a wood knob. We want to fill in the hole that's on the leaf. So I got some wood filler and I simply just added that wood filler to the hole to cover it up. I let it dry for an hour and then I came back and sanded it down so it was nice and smooth. Now that we have all of our wood items prepped, we're going to take them outside and spray them in the gold Rust-Oleum spray paint. I made sure that each of these wood pieces were coated in the gold spray paint. Once they were, I let it dry for an hour. Then I came back and I flipped the 2 round wooden pieces over. I sprayed those in the spray paint and then added an additional coat of gold spray paint to the leaf and also the round wood knob. And then I let everything dry for an additional hour. We are going to add all of these wood pieces to the top of our lid by stacking them. So we're going to start off with our wood leaf first. So I added hot glue to the back of the wood leaf and then I pressed it into the center of the lid. Then I took my large wooden circle, added hot glue to the back, and then pressed it to the center of the leaf. Next, I took my smaller circle, added hot glue to the back of that, and pressed that to the center of the larger circle. And finally, added hot glue to the bottom of the round knob and placed that on top of the smaller circle. I love the way that all of these wood pieces look stacked up on top of each other, and the leaf is perfect because it definitely themes this piece into the autumn season. Do you remember this blue ribbon that we used on our sign? Well, guess what? They had an exact match, only thinner, at the clearance section at Hobby Lobby. This spool of ribbon was only 50 cents. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a segment of this thin blue ribbon, we're going to wrap it around the knob and tie it into a bow. I love the addition of this ribbon to this project. It adds a much needed pop of color to an otherwise very neutral color palette. We are done beautifying the lid of this candle. This looks so fancy. It looks so personalized. It looks much better and has so much more personality than it did when we purchased it. The lace is an elegant design and a very pretty neutral backdrop to all the other things that we added on top. We have our gold wood leaf and all of the wood rounds. And of course, we've got this ribbon, which I think just makes it. How pretty is that? And because we're using ribbon, it can be swapped out for a different color or season by simply changing out the color of the ribbon. And you would never know that there are all those divots and dings underneath this lid because the paper and all the embellishments cover it all up. It makes it look so unique and so pretty. The candle went from clearance to a scene stealer. If you like the projects that we're doing today, make sure that you're subscribed. I post weekly videos on all things related to the home, so make sure you're subscribed so you won't miss an episode. Now, we have had so much good luck rummaging through the Hobby Lobby clearance section that we're just going to keep on rummaging. Now, the next item that I found that we're going to transform is this lantern. This rose gold copper lantern is so pretty. I haven't seen a lantern like this before. This size is very unique. It's short and square. The color was one of a kind too. I really do love this rose gold copper color. I typically only see lanterns in whites or blacks, so this was very unique. And the price was fabulous. It was only $8.74. If you notice, this lantern does not have a topper. I don't know if it's missing or if it just never had one to begin with, but we are going to create our own topper. And we are going to do that with a wood square. They had a package of 2 of these wood squares. I really love the detail along the edges and how thick these were. They're also so affordable. I do not want to leave this topper plain. That's so boring. So what we're going to do is engrave a design again with my Creality Falcon 2. I just made a design, I put it into light burn, and then the Falcon 2 lasered this design into the wood. You can choose different depths of how deep you want the laser to burn the wood. I wanted this swirl to go pretty deep into the wood because we're going to be painting it. And if you do it lightly, sometimes when you paint things, it just disappears. So I made sure that this design was very deep into the wood. I also am using a protective cover over the top of my laser. This isolates noise, smoke, and odors that are produced when you're burning the wood. And the built-in smoke ventilation system helps expel the smoke and dust. The protective cover and the honeycomb that goes underneath is a separate purchase. So now that I have this beautiful design burned into the wood, we are going to paint it. Now, I tried to find a paint that was similar to the color of our lantern. I found this pretty rose gold paint. It's not an identical match, but it is pretty close. Once the underside of this wood was completely covered in this rose gold paint, I let it dry for an hour. Then I flipped it over and I painted the top and the sides. Once the entire block was covered in the spray paint, I let it dry for an additional hour. I'm going to show you two different options of how I use this lid. The first option uses the lid simply. This looks great. It finishes off my lantern. I love the detail that the lid adds to the streamlined lantern. Our second option is to add a floral arrangement similar to the one that we added to the sign earlier. So what I'm going to do is get some more of that floral foam. I cut it to the size that I needed and pressed it into the opening at the top of the lantern. I was so inspired by the color scheme as well in the first arrangement that we are going to use those sunset colors again. So I took several of these pretty pink, orange, and yellow flowers and I added them to the floral foam. I added the same gold leaves, which is a fabulous contrast to the rose gold. Now we're going to take that lid and add a little bit of hot glue to it and then place it in the floral foam. So the hot glue is holding it in place, but also the surrounding flowers are holding the lid in place too. I think that this looks so cute. I love that it's just poking out the top and you can see that design right in the corner. It's a fun contrast to all of the flowers. Just like our sign and our candle, we are going to use this blue ribbon. Can you believe that they had 3 different sizes in the clearance section of the same color of ribbon? So we've used the large, the small, and now we're going to use the medium. I'm going to create a bow similar to the way that I did on our sign. I laid my ribbon out flat, made a few loops, added floral wire to the center, and then pressed it into the floral foam. This lantern looks so pretty. It's such a unique piece. The color scheme is so pretty. I love how all of those bright florals coordinate with the copper lantern and the gold leaves. Lanterns are also so versatile. You can use them in a variety of different ways. This decorative piece coordinates beautifully with my sign, and I will be displaying them both at the bridal shower. This is another one of those great flips. I'm so happy that I found it and was able to transform it from clearance to couture. The clearance aisles, you guys, get in there, rummage around, see what you can find. If it looks appealing at all, just know that it has potential. So scoop it up because you can turn something that's broken, misshaped, out of style into something that is personalized to you, that is couture, and that can help you to live beautifully on a budget. I hope you liked all of the clearance to couture items that we transformed today. If you like this video and want to see more like it, I would love to have you subscribe so I could share those with you. Thank you so much for watching.